Hello everyone. So, I've not done this talk before, so we'll see how it goes. But yeah, as mentioned, we're doing a bit of a deep dive on one of my favourite projects, which is my jet-powered car, which set a land speed record in 2023. And yeah, as we'll see, it was a long journey to get to that point, but yeah, we'll go into it and give you a bit of an overview of all of the decision making and the stress and the things that go wrong on the way to achieving those kind of successes, amongst a few failures as well. So yeah, we'll start at the beginning. So there's the jet-powered car. Show of hands, who's seen this video before? Oh wow, quite a few. That's great. Well, don't need to go into too much detail now. I'm sure you'll, for those of you who haven't seen this particular video, all will become apparent later on because I'll go through the whole story. But first of all, here's the channel. So I make, in general, aerospace engineering videos that are all to do with, well, DIY aerospace engineering. So it's building things like model aeroplanes, model rockets, remote control cars, boats, things like that, and trying to make them go as fast as possible, as high as possible, all those sort of things. So yeah, there's a lot of excitement. There's a few things that go wrong. The latest video here was building a cargo plane, and we're currently seeing how much stuff we can lift in it. So that's going to be the next video, and we usually push things to the limit and see where they break, and that's always fun. So obviously with that one, it's put as much stuff in it as possible until it crashes. So that's always fun. So here's some embarrassing pictures of myself getting into all of this stuff back in the day. So obviously, yeah, I've been interested in making things for a long time. I'm sure that's very similar to a lot of the younger makers here today. So yeah, as you can see, I was into model trains. That was a big one. And also sort of making things out of cardboard, like this model of the RMS Mauritania. Yeah, very specific boat to model as a 12-year-old or whatever that was, but yeah. The other hobby I had was making videos, and this was like right at the very beginning of YouTube. So it's when, you know, sort of 2006, 2007, you could get digital cameras and upload stuff to YouTube for the first time. And myself and my friends would make these little videos. They'd usually be sort of comedic or action-packed videos, and upload them to my YouTube channel. And unfortunately, I deleted that YouTube channel, and that meant that almost all of those videos were lost, which is an absolute tragedy. There is one that still exists, which is this one on the screen now, which was a Doctor Who related one, as you can tell probably from the thing in the middle. Now around sort of when I was a teenager, maybe later teenager, I discovered how to build remote control aeroplanes. And that was quite a big step in what I could build. So I was struggling for ages with electronics and, you know, how to connect this thing to make the motor go and all of that. And over time, watching a few YouTube videos actually, I figured out how to do it and how to plug an ESC, electronic speed controller, into a brushless motor and have a receiver and, you know, control some servos and make an aeroplane fly. And I also discovered this amazing miracle material called foam board. How many people out there, out in the audience, have made something with foam board before? Yeah, quite a few. It's quite a popular thing. It's great. It's very lightweight, has a very high strength to weight ratio, and it's very easy to work with and just glue together with hot glue gun. So it makes rapid prototyping really easy, but you can still make some pretty cool planes like this Spitfire on the right here. So I know I already have a baby face, but even more of a baby face in 2017. This is when I started my YouTube channel, Project Air, which is the current thing that I'm working on. I've been working on it for about 8 years now. This was my very first video shot in my university accommodation. And yeah, I think this subject was about waterproofing foam board. I thought that'd be a thrilling subject to start with. I didn't really know exactly where the channel was going. I knew it would be something to do with engineering and building things and this hobby of mine, which was RC aeroplanes. But yeah, you have to start somewhere and figure out where you're going and just keep building stuff. So yeah, that was 8 years ago, which makes me feel very old. So my strategy of how to get these videos seen by people, because thankfully it's a bit better now than it was, but back then in 2017, it was extremely difficult to get videos seen by anyone. So I thought what I'll do is I'll just start posting articles about it. So I use my university writing skills I picked up from doing a million essays and just write about these subjects that I've made videos about, and then yeah, share the links to the YouTube videos in the articles. And it worked really well for getting a couple of hundred people per video to watch and start subscribing. So at that time, I was posting these on a website called flighttest.com, which was another YouTube channel that made sort of RC plane related content. And they saw my articles and were like, oh, well, would you be able to write some for us as well, and we'll pay you for them? So that was my first job out of university, really. And I did that for about a year, and some of the articles got quite a few views, as you can see by this one. It's got 160,000 views. So yeah, that was nice. It showed that this sort of stuff worked, and I could make stuff that people wanted to watch. But yeah, what I really wanted to do though was be working on my YouTube channel and building these ambitious things that I had in my head that I always wanted to build since I was that small sort of 12-year-old building in the RMS Mauritania. But I'd have to wait a while. So I wasn't being paid very much at all for the articles. So in 2019, I happily found a proper job with a model aeroplane company who had seen the articles that I'd been writing. I actually went and wrote one about them because it turned out that they were just down the road from me. And yeah, it actually meant that I could go and write an article on them really easily. And thankfully, I don't know, I made a good impression and they offered me a proper job. So I was then making videos about their products and yeah, had access to this really nice little studio that we built out with a lot of OSB, which is still a feature of my current workshop. And yeah, it sort of evolved from there. I was making sort of these how-to videos, building videos, all that sort of thing. But at the same time, I was going in, staying in the office late and filming my own Project Air videos. And at that point, they were starting to get a bit more traction, sort of a couple of thousand views. Yeah, and it sort of went from there. So this is the Vintage Model Company. That's who I work for. And they make these kind of really high-detailed RC planes, which, yeah, a bit different to what I make. I just slap foam board together, and it's very experimental, but I actually prefer that kind of thing. So in 2021, I finally went full-time with YouTube. It was going really well at that point, and I was making just about enough money to keep going. And yeah, sort of started making videos like this, which got a lot of views. And I've sort of really found the niche of putting rockets on things and doing exciting projects and building big stuff like this aircraft carrier, which is still my most viewed video. I think it's coming up to 7 million views now, I think. So yeah, it was all going really well. But I was also thinking about where this could all go and all of the really big, ambitious builds that I wanted to put together. And one of the things I wanted to do was emulate some of my heroes. And those people are people like Donald Campbell here. I'm not sure if anyone knows who that is. Richard Noble, land speed records breakers. I'd read books about these people when I was a child and always wanted to build models of their vehicles, these high-speed boats and cars and all of that sort of thing. It just seemed absolutely amazing that you could get a car, build it at home like, well, some of these land speed record breakers, and yeah, break a world record with it. That was just absolutely amazing to me. So yeah, that was the idea for my next project, which was to build a jet-powered remote control car, similar in design to Thrust 2, which is this gold car at the bottom, and try and set my own land speed record. Here's the start of the project. All of my projects start with, well, getting straight into it, building something from scratch, or putting two things together that already exist, and seeing what happens. So with this, I started the project by putting well, as you can see, a jet engine on top of a remote control car. So this is a micro gas turbine. It's a small miniature jet engine, which it works exactly like a real one. It sucks air in, heats it up, expands it out the back at almost supersonic speeds, and yeah, it pushes things along very, very quickly. So, as I say, this was year one, month one of the project. I say year one because it took quite a while, so you can probably tell. Each one of my videos it takes about a month to make. So I have a sort of upload schedule of one video a month and 12 a year, and that means that I can keep, bringing in the sponsors, bringing in the revenue from the YouTube channel, and I can afford things like this jet engine and my workshop and all of that. So, yeah, as you'll see, this sort of informs how the projects are put together and how quickly they have to progress to actually get anywhere. So with this one, month one, I took a Armour Limitless chassis, which is a remote control car. It was a very strong, sturdy chassis, and modified it, putting an inboard disc brake system in. As I say, putting this 120 size jet turbine on it, which is, I'm not sure if I mentioned, but they're basically designed to go in RC aircraft, very expensive, large RC aircraft. And yeah, put some kerosene in it. So it's very much a proper jet engine. So once that worked, I had to see how fast it would go. And although this wasn't an official attempt on the record, this was my first go at actually driving one of these things quite fast. And up to this point, I'd never actually driven a remote control car faster than like 20, 30 miles an hour. I'd never really owned a proper hobby grade remote control car. But yeah, being a YouTube engineer, I sort of pushed myself into it, and you end up going into the deep end and not just taking it steady. So yeah, I really had to make progress quickly. So what we did was myself and my dad, who's in the audience today actually, and my mum, hello over there. We went to this, my dad was doing the filming, we went to this local racetrack called Darley Moor, which is quite close to my workshop. It's a motorcycle track, got very long straights, old airfield, so it's a sort of triangle configuration, and one of the straights is about 700 meters long, which is just about long enough, so really you need as much distance as possible to test these things. So yeah, took it there in my classic Mini, which is a very trusty little car for this kind of thing. Of course, you've got to take a proper car to one of these race tracks, so it's nice. So do a few reconnaissance laps. Yeah, and then the process was how fast can this thing go? So we're just doing repeat runs, one after the other. Sort of, taking it incrementally. You can't just go into this willy-nilly and just go, right, I'm going to open the throttle. It has to be a very sort of slow process, making sure you're capturing the right video at the right time. Because, of course, we're not just doing engineering, we're also doing a YouTube documentary every single month. You've got to get the right footage. If you miss the shot, then you've missed the shot. If the car crashes and you didn't catch it on video, it's going to make the edit very difficult. Trying to get across to the audience what actually happened, and yeah, sometimes it doesn't turn out how you want it to. Thankfully, we did capture the crash on camera. It didn't go very well, this test. Well, it went well up until the point that it didn't. It was we got it to about 90 miles an hour, I think. So I was learning the ropes of how to push these cars faster and faster on this very smooth surface, and then. My target for the day was well, it'd be great for the video if we can try and get over 100 miles an hour. That's a nice round number, sounds impressive. That's the whole goal of the video. So on the very final run of the day, I open the throttle after refueling, changing the tyres, doing all the maintenance on the car, checking things over 100 times. It's pretty stressful to make sure that you've not forgotten anything on every single run. And yeah, headed off down the track. And unfortunately, speared over to the right as I passed myself. And because I wasn't very used to the idea of the car going past myself, because I was standing halfway down the track, I sort of got disorientated, drifted too far to the right, and at 118 miles an hour, which I think is about 190 kilometers an hour, I went off the track. The car was totally written off. Thankfully, the jet engine bounced down the road, or it went down the grass verge on the side, and was mostly unscathed, which was an absolute miracle. Because obviously, if we destroyed it at that point, it would have been pretty much game over for this project, because that was the most expensive project item I'd ever bought for one of these videos up to that point. I think it was about £1,500 or something. So yeah, as you can imagine, there's quite a few nerves there with opening up the throttle and just letting it go down the runway or the racetrack. So, month 3, we had a deadline. We'd had this deadline since month 1 actually, which was there was an RC car event in Wales scheduled for, I think it was the sort of middle of August, pretty hot time of year, even in Wales. Yeah, so could I rebuild the car and take it to the racetrack? This would complete the three-part series of this video documentary if I could break the record. And the record, by the way, there hadn't actually been one set that was a jet car record specifically, but Guinness World Records, I've been in touch with them. They'd said, if you can get past, I think it was 93 miles an hour, not sure why 93, but we'll say that's a proper record and we'll validate that. So that was the goal. The Rosser team, so that was the organisation that was running this RC car event, they'd scheduled to hire out this huge runway called Llanbedr Airport or Airfield, old RAF base, 3-mile long runway, 5 kilometres, something like that. And yeah, they'd very kindly said that we could come and run the car. So myself and my partner Hannah, who was then on the camera, we trekked off all the way to this place in Wales, and set up the car for a few runs and a few attempts at this record. And again, this was a bit nerve-wracking. We had everything there ready. We had a car that worked, that I'd rebuilt over the last 2 weeks. Everything had to happen quite quickly. I had to fix the engine. There'd been a few problems with the thrust tube being dented. I had to hammer that out and check all the other bits and the bearings and the starter motor and all that kind of thing. And all with this aim just to get to the airfield on time. We got there. We're ready to go. We've got the timing gates all there ready. Can we get there? Can we do it? Now, the first run, that was just a practice. 50 miles an hour through the timing gates. Let's see if I can, get it to go through the timing gates and stop. Managed to do that fine. So I came back and went to repeat the test with a fresh load of fuel and some fresh tyres. But unfortunately, the next run, aiming for that sort of 90 whatever miles an hour, 93 miles an hour, didn't go very well, as you can see from the picture on the right, the top right. So the car got into an oscillation, seemed to lose signal, and then drifted right over to the left and hit the grass on the side of the runway, and the whole thing just exploded. It was going 70 miles an hour when it went into the side, and yeah, again, pretty much a total write-off. Had a lot of help from people there who were quite helpful. There was a guy called David from Scorched Parts who was, giving me lots of advice and everything. But no one seemed to know exactly what was the cause of the crash. And obviously I was pretty upset by the results because it wasn't what we wanted. So I had to go back and rebuild the car. And I figured out that it was actually a gyro that had caused the problem. So the car got into an oscillation because the gyro was correcting the car as it wobbled like this and over-correcting it. So it just increased the wobble, and then the car went like this and then went over to the side, crashed into the bank, which was, not ideal. So, pretty much a failure. Lots of my projects, they don't go as you want them to. And this is the big risk with doing this kind of engineering content. The projects don't always go right. You cannot always plan for the perfect results. Like maybe a lot of other YouTube channels, you can sort of be a bit more controlled. You're all in the studio. You kind of know how the thing's going to turn out. But this sort of thing, turns out it's actually really, really, really difficult and a bit heartbreaking sometimes. But you can't stop and give up. So, with the goal still of 93 miles an hour, I set to work rebuilding the car from scratch. This time, I wasn't just going to bolt an engine directly to an armour chassis. Instead, I would build the car completely from scratch with a custom-made, custom CNC aluminium shell and chassis. So this car was took direct inspiration from Richard Noble's Thrust 2, which broke the world speed record in, I think it was 1983. It had a central engine which was mounted near the front of the car for a forward center of gravity, so that like with an arrow or a dart, with the center of gravity further forward than the fins, it will keep itself nice and straight. And obviously, as we learnt from the last car, I didn't want to rely on gyros and electronic aids for this car to be stable. Instead, it would have to be aerodynamically stable, passively. So, the first month, it was building the car, and I made a video on that. Second month, it was testing the car at the local racetrack, Darley Moor, without crashing it this time. Got to 70 miles an hour and called it a day, just to be on the safe side, and made a video on that. And each one of these videos, by the way, takes about a week to edit. So you're not only just thinking about the engineering and all of that sort of thing, you're thinking about the story and the narration and, trying to get across all of the dramatic bits and all of the complicated information in a succinct way in a sort of documentary format every single month. And it's, as I say, it takes about a week to edit. This was actually a different video that I was editing, but yeah. So month 3, we again had a deadline of the next Rosser event, which was again at that airfield, Llanbedr in Wales. And I had to get this car finished. It had to have a lot of safety features to pass the scrutineering. It's quite serious. You have to have kill switches. You have to make sure that the, all of the tyres are all correct, all of that kind of thing. But and obviously all of this costs quite a lot of money. But thanks to my Patreons, I was able to, afford all the CNC milling and the 3D printing filament and the printers and the machines and stuff, and from this workshop got the car ready. So the big day had arrived. My friend Matt and I, who's standing over there, DIY Perks, we headed off with him on the camera to Wales once again. And unfortunately, on our way there, we checked the weather forecast, having been checking it frantically the week before, and it was looking really poor for this week. And there wasn't another Rosser event scheduled for, I think that was the last one of the year. So, if we couldn't do this now, then I wouldn't be able to conclude this video series, another 3-part series, this month. So there was a lot of pressure on to get it done. But of course, we had to go out to the pub and have a nice, relax before the big day. Drove all the way there, looked anxiously at the weather, and then drove to the airfields. This was some of the other teams or the other competitors all setting up, and they're all hoping to set their own records in their own classes. So there's a lot of different classes. There's sort of wheel-driven cars, electric cars, nitro cars. We were the only jet car team there. Which is, I don't think anyone else has done that before. But we were very hopeful that this would actually be a good day. So we had to scrutineer the car, had to test it out for the scrutineers. I don't know how to pronounce that, but the event team to show that it was safe, show that we could stop it, show that the car was completely safe if it lost radio connection, that kind of thing. It would apply its brakes. Yeah, thankfully, we passed it. And there were smiles all around. And now the pressure was really on to try and set the record. So the first run was only supposed to be a practice run. Again, like on the previous year, I was just aiming to sort of do, about 50, 60, 70 miles an hour through the timing gates, make sure I can get it through the timing gates without hitting them. There were sort of two bits of equipment that are about, I don't know, probably from there to there in terms of that sign there and that pillar. And at 100 miles an hour, it's quite tricky to get it through the gates, just sort of weaving it. It's like threading the needle with a thread. But thankfully, I actually gave it a little bit more power than I was initially intending to, and managed to go 94.76 miles an hour on the very first run. So we got the record, which was a massive moment for myself and Matt, and we were very, very, very happy. Now, the only thing that made me slightly worried was the fact that we didn't know whether all of these, timing, the timing equipment and everything would actually be validated by Guinness World Records. So, we wanted to obviously keep pushing it and show that we could really go faster with this car. It's a jet-powered car, and the engine we were using was a 220 size engine on this car. So it was about 10 more than the last one. So it's about 220. Not 200. 220 newtons of force, which is about equivalent to 22 kilograms of thrust. So that's how much stuff the engine could pick up on its own and hover with. 22 kilograms, which actually is quite a lot. So this car would only used about 10% throttle for about 2 seconds on this run. We accelerated from 0 to 100 miles an hour pretty much, or 94 miles an hour through the timing gates in 8 seconds. And that was with about 10% of the throttle. Just blipping it for a second, holding the brakes on, and then raising the throttle, letting it come up from idle. The engine's revving at about 30,000 RPM from idle, by the way. Absolutely ridiculous, making a heck of a racket. And then coming off the brakes all of a sudden and letting it shoot down the runway, thread the needle, 8 seconds later, slam the brakes on, well, in a controlled way, obviously, not to lock them up, and bring it to a controlled stop. And then you can shut the engine off and then breathe. And then go run over to it as fast as possible. I had an electric skateboard, so I could just about get over to it in not too slow a time, and make sure that it's gone into cooling mode. But yes, as I say, that was the first run. Now we were going to do the second run and see what it could really do. The next run, we did 131.19 miles an hour, which was a lot faster, as you can tell. Well, about 30 miles an hour faster. And that was done with holding the throttle on for a little bit longer and placing the car further back on the starting line. The really annoying thing with this car was that it was a little more impractical than the normal RC cars, that you can sort of drive up to the start line wherever you want and just stand on the tower and then just let it run past and then stop at the other end, drive it back to you and check it out. For mine, I had to actually get on my electric skateboard or walk with it all the way up the runway, sit with it for a bit, make sure it turns on all right, and then as soon as it's idling at 30,000 RPM, leg it back down to the bit where you stand, which is on a sort of tower, so you're a bit elevated, which is a bit safer in case it crashes into you. And then do that whole process. Drive it past you, stop it, get on your electric skateboard, and then leg it down to make sure it's cooling. If it doesn't cool, the engine might be broken for the next run. It's a bit stressful. But anyway, so that next run, unfortunately, wasn't counted, that 131 miles an hour, because the car didn't stay in one piece. The nose cone fell off halfway through the run, or I say fell off, it sort of blew off spectacularly, because unfortunately I forgot to put a couple of nuts underneath the nose cone to hold it on, and that was an absolute mistake, because that wouldn't count for an official record. So unfortunately, we were still only at 94 miles an hour for our record. But obviously, we had to go and celebrate down in wherever the local town was, Barmouth, I think it was. And yeah, it was quite a nice feeling to know that we've probably got the record. At this point, obviously, we don't know entirely if they'll accept it or not. You know, maybe the timing equipment wouldn't have enough witnesses and all that kind of thing. So still a little bit worried about that, but we were doing our best. So the next day, after a good sleep, head back out to the airfield for the second day of the event, the Sunday. I think it was on a Sunday. Yeah, we'd go again for another run. Unfortunately, this day it was incredibly windy. Or, well, I say incredibly windy. It was incredibly windy for model cars and model planes and things like that. It was probably a crosswind of about 25 miles an hour on the runway. And I was talking to a few of the other competitors there. They were saying, "Oh no, we can't feel the wind, you know, with our cars. It's absolutely fine." So I was reassured by that our car would be also fine. However, our car is a lot bigger and more slab-sided, more flat-sided than most cars. And as I would find out to my, it wouldn't be a good thing. So, unfortunately, we crashed again. This is the third crash of the project, if you'll remember. As I was heading down the runway with a lot more throttle this time, I passed through the timing gates at 141 miles an hour with the throttle left open up to that point. Not even at full. We were about sort of probably around 60% on the stick. As I was going through the timing gates, I was being blown over to the right. I thought, in my head, oh no, hard over to the left, bring the throttle back, start braking, and all I could see was a dot just flying away from me, getting smaller and smaller, drifting over closer and closer to the edge of the runway. And I thought, I've been here before twice. And then suddenly it hit it, and I thought, well, maybe it won't be that bad. But the next thing I saw was confetti, as the bits of aluminium flew from the car, and the engine just ejected completely, and it was all over. And so the next thing to do was jump on my skateboard and go and put out the fire. Thankfully, there wasn't much of a fire. It was all fine, and we could, gather up the pieces and stick everything back in the car. I was very upset about it. It was really tragic because this car had shown so much potential, and we hadn't extracted half of what it was capable of. It had been a great thing, the nicest thing I'd ever built up until that point, and it was just confetti into the sky at this point. So not great. All I could do was hope that we'd done enough to get that record, and that Guinness World Records would accept all of our data. And thankfully, I'm pleased to say, they did. So I managed to achieve this childhood dream of emulating my heroes, building something that was truly one of a kind. It was the fastest jet-powered RC car in the world. There's been a few of these things attempted over the years, and we managed to get it done. So I was very, very happy with that. And through all of the sort of trials and tribulations, we'd managed to work together as a team with my very helpful volunteers, and get the job done. So I was really happy with that. As you can see, on the 1st of July 2023, we set the record of 94 miles an hour, or 94.76. And then all I had to do was make a YouTube video about it. So again, another month, another video. Got to keep making those videos. And although I've mostly just talked about the engineering process, of course I was having to direct a video at the same time and make sure we're getting this shot, make sure we're getting that shot to tell all of the story, set up all the cameras. We've got this camera, that camera, that, and all this. Make sure the microphones are working. And just about managed to make a pretty good YouTube video that did very well. So again, I was really pleased with that. So that's a little bit of a behind the scenes of one particular project that took 2 years to complete in 6 videos. And yeah, I've made a lot of other videos that you might have seen. So if anyone would like to ask any questions at this point, I'd be very happy to answer them.
Yeah, so let's have a big round of applause for James, first of all, everybody.
Thank you.
What a great talk, and as he said, what a great opportunity now to be able to put your question directly to James. So anybody would like to kick us off? Anybody got a burning question they would like to ask? First hand up, down on the second row.
Hey James,
Hi.
how much time do you record? So obviously you edit it down to different amounts of time, but how much overall do you cut from the videos?
Well, each video, in terms of time, I think generally an average video probably have about 4 or 5 hours of footage recorded, and I edit it down to a 20-minute video. So yeah, there's quite a lot discarded. There's a lot of retakes of the A-roll. I'm not very good at just saying things off the cuff straight away and making it really quick and professional, like presenting. But then there's also just a lot of building. You have to sort of set the camera going, and then you can't just show all of it, and you can't just start it and then do the interesting bit. So if you're cutting a piece of foam board to make a wing for an RC plane, the interesting bit, you don't know which bit you'll use, so you just have to film the whole thing. And you end up with about 700 gigabytes of footage per video. So as I've realized, that's not actually normal. I thought that was normal, but I was thinking, I'm starting to have a few storage issues here for my footage, but it turns out that most people don't make that much footage in an average month. So yeah, that's about how much I use.
Great question. Right, we got one over here. Oh, this person looks very excited. What's your name? This is Caleb.
Hello, Caleb.
What was your best RC plane that you made?
Well, I really enjoyed making the latest one, which was a giant model of a real aircraft built by NASA, which was called the Super Guppy, and that was used to transport rocket parts around the United States during the space race. So when they were sending rockets to the moon, they had to figure out a way of getting the rocket parts, which were really big bits, around the country quite rapidly. And they realized the best way to do it was to take a normal aeroplane and build a big fairing on the top of it. And it looks ridiculous. It looks like a whale, and it looks like it shouldn't fly. So I wanted to build a huge model of that, a 3-meter wingspan aircraft, and see if it would fly in model form. And I'm happy to say it did. So that was one that could have gone very wrong again, but thankfully it worked first time.
Great question there from Caleb. We've got another one behind Caleb.
Have you ever used 3D printing for your planes?
Yes, actually, for the I use a lot of 3D printing, not usually for the airframes, which is the bit of the aeroplane that you can see really, so all the skin and the structure of the aircraft, because that has to be very lightweight. And some people do 3D print their airplanes completely from scratch, or 100% completely, with special 3D printing material that's lightweight, but generally it's too heavy 3D printing for the main majority of the aircraft. But I do use a lot of 3D printing to make parts like the firewalls or the bulkheads that you mount things to, and that kind of stuff. So all of the hardware, it's really useful for that.
Which laser cutter would you suggest as like a cheap option that's still good?
Well, laser cutters are generally very expensive, especially if they cut out dense, heavy materials, thick plywoods, that kind of thing, which is generally used for model aircraft. I borrow a laser cutter, or the company I used to work for, I still rent my workshop off them, so I can just pop over and use their laser cutters, because they make model aeroplane kits with laser cutters. They're big CO2 lasers. They're really large format, so they wouldn't really fit in a normal house really very easily. So I think what I suggest is probably there's a 3D printer that I was sponsored by in the last video. This bit isn't sponsored. I genuinely think it's a good a good product. But yeah, there's a 3D printer called a H2D, Bamboo Labs, and that has a laser cutting module in it. So that's around £2,300, I think. It's pretty expensive, but might be a good one to start with.
Would you suggest a 3D, not a 3D printer, but a laser cutter, similar size to the H2D, but it doesn't have the 3D printer or vinyl stuff?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I would recommend one. Yeah, but I'm afraid I don't know of any on the top of my head. But I think there are some desktop ones that you could have a look into, which might be pretty good for balsa wood and that kind of thing.
Hi, James.
Hi.
Quite a few of your projects have finished up, in rapid disassembly, if you could say. You do a good job of looking philosophical about it. You sort of smile, and there we go. Do you genuinely see it as a learning thing, or are you in fact totally crushed?
That's a good question. No, I mean, I think a bit of both. Yeah, it's obviously, I think a lot of people, you don't really see in their videos how much it means when something doesn't go to plan, or maybe people are just very stoic, and other YouTube creators. But yeah, I think anyone who's flown or crashed a remote control plane will know how much it hurts when that thing that you've been working on goes into the ground and is completely destroyed. And yeah, because a lot of my projects are very experimental, and the sort of stakes are that they could get destroyed. Yeah, that happens quite often, and you'd think that I might have learnt now to deal with it with less emotion, but I think because there's the pressure of trying to make a YouTube video about it, and the things in the videos are, they're a vehicle, no pun intended, to actually move the story along and tell a really interesting story. If the story doesn't go quite to plan, it's quite stressful, and it's quite difficult to bring it back, and you have to work some late nights, it's tiring. I would say, obviously this is the best job in the world, so I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, yeah, there is that element, and yeah, I do get a bit. It does crush you to some extent.
What coding language do you use?
Oh, well, that's a good question. My dad is actually a programmer, and he tried to teach me to code, and it didn't go very well. So I don't usually do much coding. I have used Arduinos before, so I know how to do a bit of Arduino stuff. I would recommend, anyone learning Arduinos. I think it's a really cool way to do programming and see physical things moving and all of that. Even if it's just a couple of LEDs, it's really satisfying.
I've got to say, we're having some great questions, and we have still got a little bit of time left. So if anybody does want to squeeze a question in, Minecraft fan down the front.
How many subscribers do you have?
Well, we've just gone over 700,000. So yeah, it's a nice feeling. We've just gone over that milestone. So inching up towards the big 1 million, but we'll see when we get there. It's taken about 8 years to get to this point. So yeah, how old are you? You're 8. Oh well, there you go. Your whole lifetime.
Lovely. Any final questions? Anybody else want to ask anything to James? Take this opportunity. Yes. Don't be shy.
Thank you, James. That was a fun story. Enjoyed that.
Thank you.
You seem to have a fairly empirical approach to your design. Have you ever used, or do you plan to use, sort of finite element analysis or aerodynamic modelling in your endeavours?
Yes. Yes, I am planning to use some soon, and I have been working on that with a software called, I'm trying to remember the name of it now off the top of my head. Can't remember what it's called now. But yes, I'm using some sort of flow simulations for the next car. So, spoiler alert, building another car. It's not done yet, this story. We're going to try and go more towards 200 miles an hour, which is the sort of speed that the top-end land speed record RC cars now go at these events. And for that, we're going to need a bit more analysis in the design phase. So I'm working with a company that does a software that's on the internet that uses their computers to simulate flow, and working with another company to actually build the car, which is Easy Composites, which is a carbon composite material manufacturer, and they're helping to build a car with a lovely flowing body. So yeah, it's going to be quite the improvement, I think.
Fantastic. I look forward to that.
Thank you.
Great, and we've got a question now coming for you over here, James.
Hi James. Which
Hi.
of your videos get the best viewing numbers? The successful ones or the ones that end in disaster?
I think there's I think the quick answer is probably the successful ones. I used to release a lot of videos early on that didn't have successful endings, and they'd sort of be, the story would be, right, I want to do this thing. Here's the first step, here's the second step, right, we're building something, oh, it's getting there, oh, we're at the test flight, and then, oh, it crashed immediately. Oh, well, on to the next one. And I realized that didn't really make a very good story. So although a lot of my projects do have a lot of failures in them, I always try and make sure that I've got enough of a story that you've learned something at the end. It did actually do something. Maybe you pushed it to the absolute limit and then it crashed, but I wouldn't consider that a failure. I think my whole purpose on this YouTube channel is to be exciting, do exciting things, and that can involve crashes and pushing things to the limit. So yeah, I think there's a bit of both. I think the most popular video I've made is the aircraft carrier one, and we had 2 out of 3 planes land on the deck. One of them went in the water, so yeah, that shows there's a bit of a failure, bit of success, and yeah, that's the sort of right mix for me.
Well, look, I've got a question for you, James, and it's a cliche one, but you know, if you were going to talk to yourself, 8 years ago when this all kicked off, what advice would you be giving to yourself here and now?
That's a really good question. I've never thought about it, so I'm having to have a think about it now. Yeah, I don't know. I think probably focusing on being consistent with projects and having some sort of pressure is actually quite a good thing. So, for instance, with the way that I upload once a month, it keeps things moving, and it is a bit stressful. You run out of time often. I didn't even mention the weather very much, but that's a massive problem for me. But with that pressure, you can actually just keep building, keep improving, and do it very rapidly. A lot of engineering in the real world is very, very slow and sort of plods along. There's a lot of bureaucracy and that kind of thing, getting designs passed through so many people. But with my thing, I really like to just go rapid and just learn as much as possible. So I think the advice would be just, keep making stuff as much as possible.
There it is. Keep making stuff. Well, James, look, we wish you all the very best, all the success with what comes next for you. Let's have a big round of applause one more time for James Whomsley.
Thank you very much for listening.